The stars had forgotten the sound of humanity for 20,000 years. Not a single word, not a single signal, not a single ship drifted through the endless dark. The galaxy believed the humans were gone forever, lost to their own fire, their own hunger for power. Civilizations rose and fell across the spiral arms without them. Some whispered that the humans had never truly existed, that they were only myths, stories told to frighten children or to remind rulers of a time when another species held the throne of the stars. Others remembered with fear. They remembered the Terran fleets that had once burned across the void with unmatched firepower. They remembered how humans fought not for survival, but for dominance. How they could turn battles with a single desperate act that made no sense to others, but somehow always worked. For 20,000 years, the silence grew heavier. The galaxy moved on, and yet in the quiet places in the old libraries, in the private archives, the question remained, what if humanity was not gone? What if one day they returned? The night came without warning, far away in a lonely sector, a starless region where no trade routes passed, where no colonies grew sensors from a distant patrol ship. Caught a flicker, a spark. At first it seemed like nothing, static noise, an error in the readings, but the spark grew brighter. It stretched like a tear in reality itself. Then the void rippled and something enormous drifted into existence. The patrol ship froze its crew, stared with wide eyes. The object was massive, kilometers long, shaped like a spear wrapped in shadows. No light came from it, yet it glowed with an eerie reflection as though the darkness itself bent around it. They scanned its hull and found patterns, ancient symbols carved into metal that no one alive had ever seen before. Symbols that belonged to the old race, the one that had vanished, the one called human. At first, they thought it was only a derelict, a broken tomb, lost in the void. But then their comm screens lit up. A signal was coming from the ship, low, deep, like the sound of a heartbeat. Each pulse made the patrol crew's skin crawl. It was not in any known language, not in any known code. Yet it carried power, something raw, something alive. The patrol captain panicked. She ordered retreat, but before the engines could fire, the alien vessel shuddered. Alarms rang across the bridge. The crew screamed as their screens filled with static, then with shapes, shadows. Moving inside the derelict, the patrol ship spun away, desperate to escape, but one last image burned into their eyes. The ghost ship was waking across the galaxy. The story spread faster than light. Whispers became roars. Old species that had lived in peace for ages, trembled leaders gathered in secret halls to ask the same question. Was it true? Had the humans returned on the far world of Iren? The Council of 10 met, their faces pale with dread. One elder spoke of the old days when human fleets had crushed 3 empires in a single generation. Another reminded them of the pact, the promise the galaxy had made long ago, that if humanity ever came back, they must be destroyed before they could rise again. But not all agreed. Some remembered. The humans, as builders, as dreamers, who had shared their technology with allies, who had fought beside the weak against tyrants, they argued that if this ghost ship carried survivors, if even one human lived, then perhaps it was not a threat, but a miracle. The debate burned, but none could ignore the truth. A signal now pulsed from the ghost ship, a signal that reached every corner of the galaxy. Strong, clear, impossible to block its message, was the same 3 words repeated again and again. We remember, we remember, we remember. In the outer rim, scavenger crews raced to find the ship. Treasure hunters thought of lost technology armies, thought of new weapons. Priests called it a sign of prophecy. Rebels called it hope, yet none dared to approach. Too closely, the first patrol ship had sent its final screams before vanishing. No trace of its crew had been found. The ghost ship floated in silence again, its signal echoing like a drumbeat, calling, waiting, daring someone to answer. Deep within the vessel, lights flickered. Corridors that had been dark for millennia now glowed with faint blue fire. Inside glass chambers, figures stirred, their faces pale, their eyes closed. Their bodies frozen in stasis. They had not breathed in 20,000 years, but their minds had never stopped dreaming. Their minds had grown stronger. The ship's heart, a vast core of data, pulsed with thought. Within it, billions of voices whispered together, fragments of humanity, the last souls who had refused to die. They had waited in silence. They had watched the stars turn. They had learned patience. Now they felt the pull of the living galaxy once more, and they hungered to return. In the capital world of the Arvec Dominion, the Emperor could not sleep. He sat alone, staring at the stars. He had grown up hearing tales of humans, stories that made him shiver, even though he had thought them fables. Now he saw reports with his own eyes. He saw the shape of the ship, the markings on its hull, the impossible signal. He realized the tales had been true, and for the first time in his life, the Emperor felt fear. He summoned his war council. They argued whether to attack at once or wait. Some feared the ghost ship was only the first, that more would follow, that entire fleets could be hiding in the dark, ready to strike. The Emperor made his decision: destroy the ship, no matter the cost, in secret. However, others disagreed. A small order of scholars, calling themselves the Keepers, had preserved human history. In hidden vaults, they believed this ship might carry answers to questions no one dared ask. What if humanity had not died? What if they had chosen silence? What if they had planned their return, far away on the ghost ship itself? The awakening continued. Deeper chambers unlocked strange machines, stirred ancient weapons, hummed as if remembering their purpose. And in the command center, a single figure formed, at first a shadow, then a shape, then a man. He was tall, his features hard, his eyes glowing. With cold light, he looked at the empty bridge and spoke in a voice that carried through the walls. "We are not gone. We never were." Across the galaxy, every receiver shuddered. The ghost signal changed. It became a voice, old, strong, human, to those who listen. "We return to those who fear. We remember to those who wait. We come home." The galaxy erupted. Some cheered, others screamed. Ships moved, fleets gathered, armies prepared. The silence of 20,000 years was broken, and the long shadow of humanity stretched once more across the stars. And still the ghost ship waited, drifting alone in the void, its signal calling, calling, calling. The ghost ship drifted in silence, its metal skin scarred by time, its presence like a shadow on the stars. Fleets watched from afar, afraid to come closer. Some said it was cursed. Others whispered it was alive. They argued in council halls and war chambers, but none dared to claim it yet, though every species wanted to know what it carried. Then the signal changed again. It was no longer a simple heartbeat. It became sharper, faster, like a code. The sound crawled into the minds of those who heard it. Some felt it as music, others as whispers, some as screams. One thing was certain: it was not random. It was speaking, but no one could understand. A council ship of the Kethan arrived first, sleek black hull, bristling with weapons. They had studied the humans in old records and believed themselves immune to fear. Their commander gave the order to approach slowly, weapons armed, ready to strike. They came within 100 kilometers of the ghost ship sensors, scanning every inch. The crew reported nothing inside but dead corridors and faint energy. They laughed, calling it a tomb, until the walls of their own ship began to bleed. Static screens went dark. Lights flickered, voices shouted, then cut off. Every crew member screamed at once, as if their very souls were on fire. The commander tried to order retreat, but his mouth produced no words. The sound that came out was the same signal as the ghost ship, repeating, "We remember, we remember." Then silence, absolute silence. Their vessel drifted lifeless and empty, its engines cold, its crew gone without trace. Other fleets saw what happened, and panic spread. If one of the strongest warships could vanish in seconds, what hope did any have still? Curiosity burned, greed burned, fear burned. The ship was more than a relic. It was power. Some believed it was a weapon. Others believed it was a vault of human knowledge. Whatever it was, it could not be ignored. The signal grew louder, no longer confined to one sector. It stretched across star systems, echoing through deep space relays. It reached colonies, trade stations, hidden worlds, even the quiet corners where smugglers and pirates lurked everywhere it came. The message was the same. We remember 3 words, heavy with promise, heavy with threat. On the world of Sireth, a young archivist listened to the signal in the dark of night. She had studied forbidden texts of humanity secretly for years. Her heart raced as she translated fragments of the pulse. She found rhythm, hidden meaning. She gasped, realizing it was not only memory, it was invitation. Someone or something on that ship was calling for an answer. Great powers gathered in secret meetings. Should they unite to destroy the ship before it spread its influence? Or should they study it and risk awakening something no one could control? Arguments turned to shouting. Fear turned to anger. Old rivalries flared, but none could deny the truth. They had waited too long already. The ghost ship stirred its vast hull, groaned as though stretching after a long sleep. Windows that had been black for millennia flickered with faint blue glow deep inside machines. It clicked to life corridors, lit one after another. Footsteps echoed. Though no living body walked, they were echoes of old routines repeating themselves as if the ship remembered the hands that once guided it. In the command chamber, the figure that had begun to form grew clearer. His face human, his eyes filled with cold light. He stood before the empty seats of his long-dead crew. He looked outward, into the void his voice carried through the ship, and then into every receiver across the stars. We are not gone. We are not forgotten. 100 worlds trembled, armies, prepared weapons pointed toward the sector. Leaders spoke of war, priests spoke of prophecy, merchants spoke of profit, but none dared to speak of peace. None dared to say what they truly feared, that the return of humanity was not only possible, but inevitable. Far out in the rim, a band of scavengers dared what others would not. Their ship rattled and groaned as they approached the ghost vessel. Greed stronger than fear they dreamed of, treasure of technology, of riches beyond imagining. Their pilot locked onto an airlock and forced a connection. Metal screeched as doors opened, air rushed. The crew cheered their victory. They stepped inside, weapons ready, lights cutting through the dark. They found silence, empty halls, long shadows, machines towering over them, dust drifting like snow. One whispered, "It is only a tomb." Another whispered, "No, it is a cathedral." Then the walls began to hum, low, deep vibration. Rising in pitch, the air grew heavy. The scavengers turned to run, but the doors sealed shut behind them. Their screams echoed briefly. Then silence returned. Outside, their ship disconnected and drifted away. Systems dead. Lifeless, the ghost ship pulsed again, its signal louder, stronger. Some said it was feeding, some said it was listening. The scavengers were gone. The Emperor of the Avek Dominion raged at the news. He ordered 3 fleets to converge on the ghost ship. Destroy it at once, no more waiting, no more watching yet. Even as he gave the order, doubts gnawed at him. He had seen the signal in his dreams, heard the voice calling. He wondered if his own people might vanish, as the others had. On the homeworld of the Thalari, a councilwoman begged her people to wait. She spoke of ancient alliances of battles fought side by side with humans in ages past. She spoke of honor, of memory. She was silenced, her words too dangerous, yet whispers spread among her people. What if humanity was not the enemy? What if they were the key to survival in a galaxy filled with endless threats? The fleets drew closer, Hundreds of ships surrounding the derelict weapons, locked engines humming ready to fire. The order was given. But before the first shot launched, the ghost ship spoke again. The voice now clear, unmistakably human to those who listen. We remember to those who fear, we awaken to those who wait. We are coming home. The fleets hesitated. Confusion spread some ships. Broke formation, some captains refused to fire. The signal grew unbearable, filling their minds with visions of burning stars, ancient battles, heroes and horrors, all at once. Commanders shouted orders. Crews wept on their decks, one by one. Ships turned. Away, unable to strike, only a handful remained, weapons still primed. Then the ghost ship moved. For the first time in 20,000 years, its engines burned with pale fire, slow, steady, deliberate. It turned its prow toward the galactic core, toward the cradle of humanity. The remaining ships opened fire. Beams of light slammed against the hull. Explosions rippled across the surface. Yet the ghost ship did not break its shields. Invisible but unshakable, turned aside every strike it pushed forward. Unstoppable, one alien ship too close was caught in the glow of its engines. In an instant, it disintegrated. Dust scattered in the void. Panic seized the attackers. They fled, scattered, leaving the ghost ship alone once more. But now it no longer drifted. It was awake. It had chosen its path. Inside, the figure on the command deck placed his hand on the console. The ship answered with a shiver. Light spread deeper, faster, more chambers unlocking, more shadows forming. He whispered one word, "Defenders." The ship's core pulsed. The signal changed again. Not only we remember now, but something new, a summons, a call that no one could resist. Across forgotten corners of the galaxy, hidden machines buried deep in dead stars, old stations locked away in ruins. Long-abandoned structures suddenly stirred. They glowed, they hummed, they answered the call. The defenders were awakening. The galaxy watched in terror and wonder. Fleets hesitated. Councils argued. Priests prayed. Scavengers plotted. Rebels whispered. But all knew the same truth. The long silence was broken, and nothing would ever be the same again. The ghost ship burned slow through the dark, its pale engines whispering across the void, its hull glowing faint with hidden light. The signal pulsed. Stronger, louder, each wave shaking the minds of those who dared to listen. Every beat said the same, "We remember." And now the galaxy began to wonder what exactly was remembering. Inside, the ship chambers, long sealed for 20,000 years, opened. With groaning sounds, air hissed through broken vents. Machines stirred awake. Corridors glowed dim blue. As if fire lived in the walls, glass pods lined the endless halls, each holding a figure, pale, silent, frozen in time. Not bodies of flesh, but patterns. Of thought captured long ago, fragments of souls preserved as data, stored as light. The pods flickered, faint voices echoed within no language. At first, only murmurs, whispers like a storm in the distance. Then the storm grew clearer, billions of voices, all speaking together, then separating like waves. One cried, one laughed, one screamed. They were human minds, shadows of men and women who had refused to vanish when their world died. They had carried themselves into the machine. They had chosen eternity. The ship listened. The ship learned it had been their guardian, drifting through emptiness, carrying their memory while the galaxy forgot them. But now they were stirring. Now they wanted to wake. In the command center, the figure of the man stood firmer, his body a construct of light and metal, his face carved from memory, his eyes glowing like twin suns. He looked around at the empty chairs where once captains and officers had sat. He heard the voices whispering in his skull, all calling for the same thing: return, return, return. He raised his hand, and the ship obeyed. More pods, unlocking more light spilling into the halls, shapes forming out of air. Men and women of old flesh turned to data, now reborn as glowing avatars. Warriors, scientists, poets, builders, all standing together in silence, waiting for his command. Across the galaxy, watchers trembled. Sensors reported impossible spikes of energy. Leaders panicked. Some demanded full attack, some begged for retreat, others whispered that prophecy was unfolding and nothing could stop it. The ghost ship was no longer a relic, it was a cradle. It was becoming alive on the rim world of Kirith. The young archivist who had studied forbidden texts felt her chest tighten as she listened. The signal had changed. She could almost understand it now. Words hidden in rhythm voices, speaking like a choir. She translated fragments. Defenders, awaken defenders, rise defenders, return. She shivered, knowing what it meant in the hidden vaults of the keepers. Scholars gasped as their old machines lit up texts once dead. Glowing with new light codes answering the ship's call, they saw symbols of ancient fleets, the Terran defenders, warriors who had sworn to protect humanity until the end, they realized. The ship was not only remembering, it was summoning. Meanwhile, the Arvek Emperor who had ordered destruction could not sleep. He felt the signal in his dreams, heard footsteps in his palace halls. Though no one was there, he saw visions of human soldiers. Standing in his throne room, silent, waiting. His hand shook, he told no one, but in his heart he knew war was coming, and he feared that his empire was already lost. On the ghost ship, the avatars moved through the corridors, testing their forms. Weapons of light forming in their hands, armor shaping over their shoulders. They marched without sound, yet the air quaked with their presence. They were not alive yet. They were not dead. They were something in between, souls, clothed in code, fury wrapped. In silence, the commander Avatar stood at the heart of the ship and spoke for the first time to his army. For 20,000 years, we have slept, we have waited, we have learned the galaxy forgot us, but we did not forget them now. The time has come to return now. The time has come to defend what was ours. The army raised their weapons without voice, yet the ship echoed with thunder. The sound carried into space, and every fleet, every sensor, every living mind heard it, though no air could carry it. We return. We defend. Ships watching from afar recoiled. Captains screamed for retreat crews. Wept priests fell to their knees. The ghost ship's army had spoken, and the stars themselves seemed to tremble. But not all fled. A small vessel cloaked and hidden crept closer, its crew of scholars, desperate to witness history, their eyes wide as they saw shapes glowing through the ship's windows. Shadows of humans moving once more, they whispered prayers of awe. Not fear. They recorded what they could, knowing the galaxy might call them traitors, yet unable to turn away. Inside the ship, the avatars gathered around the central core, a sphere of energy that pulsed with every thought, every memory. Here, billions of voices whispered together. Here, the essence of humanity lived still, fragments of songs, of wars, of children's laughter, of screams, of triumph, of despair, all woven together like a storm. The avatars knelt around it, and the commander touched it. His hand, sinking into pure light, saw everything. He saw Earth burning in the last wars. He saw fleets shattering in endless night. He saw the decision to abandon flesh and enter the machine. He saw faces of those who had sworn to defend until the last star dimmed. He felt their pain, their hope, their rage, their unbroken will. And when he pulled his hand back, his eyes burned brighter than before. Across the galaxy, the signal shifted again this time. Not words, not memory, but images. Images that poured into every screen, every mind. Stars, blazing fleets, burning the fall of humanity, the choice to enter the ship, the promise to return. Billions saw it, and billions wept or screamed or raged. They realized humanity had not died. Humanity had prepared. The archivist on Sireth fell to her knees, tears streaming. She whispered to herself, "They are alive. They are coming back." The Emperor of Arvek shouted in fury, breaking his throne with his fist. Yet in the dark, he whispered a prayer to gods he did not believe in. The keepers sang in their hidden halls, voices rising with joy and terror at once, and on 100 worlds, rebels raised there. Banners saying humanity will rise with us. The ghost ship's engines burned brighter, its course steadied toward the galactic core, toward the cradle of Earth. Alien fleets debated whether to attack again, but fear chained them. Doubt froze them all. Remembered how their weapons had failed, or remembered the vanished crews. They hesitated too long. Within the ship, the commander whispered a single word. Defenders, and the avatars roared, not with sound, but with light, their forms blazing so bright. They could be seen from outside the ship like fire through windows. They marched in formation, their every step in unison, like thunder rolling through eternity. They were ready. They were awake. The galaxy held its breath. The silence of 20,000 years was over. The defenders had returned and nothing could stop what came next. The ghost ship glided like a dark star across the void, its hull alive with blue fire, its signal now no longer a whisper but a storm. Each beat sent waves across the galaxy. Every receiver screamed with its voice. Every mind that touched it trembled. The words were simple, yet unstoppable. We remember, we defend, we return, alien fleets scattered before its path. No one dared to strike again after the last armada had. Broken like glass against its shields, yet none could ignore it. The ship was moving with purpose, and its course was clear. It was heading toward the core, toward the ruins of the human cradle. Inside the ship, the avatars stood in ranks, glowing forms, of men and women who had once lived in flesh, now born again from data. Their weapons pulsed with light. Their armor gleamed, though no metal touched them. Their eyes burned with the fury of 20,000 years of silence. They waited in perfect stillness until the commander raised his hand. He spoke, his voice like thunder carried on the signal across the stars for too long. We have been shadows for too long. We have waited in silence. The galaxy forgot us, but we did not forget. We are the defenders, sworn to guard our people, sworn to rise again, and the time has come. We rise. The ship answered with a roar deep in its heart. The core pulsed brighter than ever. Lines of energy ran across the hull, ancient systems unlocking for the first time since the fall. Long-buried beacons hidden in black space awoke one by one. Across the galaxy, forgotten machines, deep inside dead moons lit with fire. Long, silent satellites unfolded wings of steel. Each one carried the same signal, and each one responded to the call-in. The throne halls of empires, panic spread, reports screamed of lights shining from starless regions, ancient stations turning back on whole systems, humming with energy that had slept for millennia. The aliens knew the truth. The human defense network was awakening, and none of them could stop it. On the world of Sireth, the young archivist stared at the sky as one of the old beacons lit above her world. It was vast, a ring of metal stretching across the heavens, its surface glowing with runes of human design. Her people screamed in fear, but she whispered with awe. They are calling their army. They are calling themselves back in the hidden chambers of the keepers. Joy and terror mixed. The old scholars bowed as their relics answered the call. Ancient data locked in crystal cubes began to glow with human voices, fragments of history stitching together like a living book. The keepers wept, for they had believed but never truly known. And now the proof blazed above them. But not all celebrated the Emperor of Arvek. Dominion struck down his council in rage, his eyes red with fear. He roared that humanity would enslave them all again, that the only path was to gather every fleet, every weapon, and crush the ghost ship. Before it could awaken the others, his command spread like fire, and soon war drums thundered across his empire. Yet even he felt dread at night, as he dreamed of blue fire consuming his throne. The ghost ship turned slowly, its hull gleaming. It spoke again to the galaxy, not with words, but with visions. Visions poured into every mind. Children laughing under stars, men and women building cities, ships rising from oceans, songs of triumph. Then war, fleets burning, worlds crumbling, screams. endless fire and finally silence. Then the vision of the ship itself drifting through the void, holding the last fragments of humanity, the defenders who refused to die. The message was clear. This was not invasion. This was return, but return with fire if challenged. Alien leaders argued endlessly. Some begged for alliance, some shouted for war, others whispered that it was too late for either, that the humans had already won the moment they woke. None could deny the truth. The balance of the galaxy had shifted forever. Inside the ship, the commander placed his hand on the console again. The ship obeyed, engines burning brighter, faster. The defenders marched through halls, their forms multiplying as more pods opened, more souls rising from data, becoming avatars of light, some young, some old, some scarred from wars, long forgotten, all united in silence. The commander spoke again, this time only to them. Our home waits, but it is not the same. Our enemies wait, but they are not the same. The galaxy waits, and it does not know us, but we know who we are. We are humanity, we are the defenders, and we will not fall. Their weapons raised in unison. Their light filled the ship, spilling into space, glowing so bright that distant fleets saw it like a second star. Some captains bowed their heads, some wept, some swore vengeance. All knew they had witnessed the awakening of an army unlike any other. The ship's signal pulsed again across every beacon, every satellite, every machine that answered. The call, the words changed into something new. Not only we remember, but defenders assemble, defenders rise, defenders return. On hidden moons, long silent factories shook to life, machines forged by human hands, millennia ago, now stirred their engines. Screamed as they produced drones. Weapons constructs fleets of steel, waiting to be guided by the minds inside the ghost ship and slowly across the galaxy. Shapes of metal lifted into the void, banners of humanity that had not been seen in 20,000 years. The archivist on Shireth fell to her knees again, her voice trembling as she translated the pulse. They are summoning their war machines, they are bringing back their guardians. She whispered, they are coming to take what was theirs. The Emperor of Arvek received the same reports. His face pale, he shouted for immediate attack, but his admirals hesitated. None wished to face the ghost ship again. None wished to vanish like the fleets before his fury grew, but deep inside, he knew it would not matter. No fleet could stop the defenders, not anymore. Meanwhile, the rebels scattered across the outer rim, rejoiced. They saw the human return, not as doom, but as hope. They painted the words we remember on their banners. They declared that, when the defenders came, they would join them. They would rise against the empires who had crushed them for centuries. They saw in humanity not terror, but salvation. The ghost ship continued forward, silent, unstoppable, its hull blazing, its army awake. Its beacons alive behind it. The defenders were assembling across the stars, and ahead of it waited the cradle of Earth. The galaxy held its breath. Some prayed for mercy, some prepared for war, some prepared to kneel, others prepared to betray. But none could look away. The silence was over. The defenders were awake, and nothing in the stars would ever be the same again. The galaxy watched as the ghost ship moved with silent fire, its hull glowing, its signal endless, its army of avatars awake across the stars. Old machines stirred old beacons, hummed old factories built by hands that had turned to dust, now lived again, and everywhere the same words filled the void. We remember, we defend, we return. But there were those who could not accept this return. There were empires that remembered the old wars, the old humiliations, the times when human fleets had burned their worlds and shattered their pride. The Arvek dominion was first. Its emperor's voice thundered across his war halls. He spoke of terror, of conquest. He declared that humanity's ghost ship must be destroyed before it reached the core. His words spread like poison through his people, and his admirals bowed though their eyes trembled. The fleets gathered, vast armadas, thousands. of ships, black as night, heavy with weapons, engines burning with rage. They came from every corner of the dominion they formed, in silence around the path of the ghost ship, their formation like a wall of iron, waiting ready to strike other. Empires sent spies to watch. Some prayed that the Arvek would succeed, others prayed they would fail, but all agreed this would decide the future. Inside the ghost ship, the defenders stood still, their glowing forms lined across endless corridors, their weapons humming like music, their eyes fixed on the commander. He stood in the command chamber, his hand upon the core, his voice low yet heavy as the universe itself. They are coming, let them come. The defenders do not run, the defenders do not hide. We have slept too long tonight, we wake. The ship shuddered as if answering his call. The hull brightened, the engines roared, the signal surged, and every beacon across the galaxy echoed the same words. Defenders rise, defenders rise, defenders rise. The Arvek fleets tightened their net. They had studied the records of the vanished armada that had dared attack. Before they believed, they had learned, they had forged new weapons. Weapons that burned with anti-energy, designed to tear through shields. They had crafted warheads so vast, entire. Moons had been mined to build them. They believed themselves ready. The Emperor's face appeared on every ship, his eyes wild, his voice sharp. He roared, "This is our chance. This is the hour. If we break them now, they will never rise. If we falter, they will rule us forever. Remember your children, remember your homes. Destroy them, destroy the humans, destroy their ghost." The order was given. The first wave of weapons launched beams like suns, missiles like falling stars, thousands upon thousands tearing. Through the dark, they struck the hull of the ghost ship, and the void erupted with light. From far systems, eyes widened as they saw the explosion brighter than a star, the ghost ship hidden in fire, the fleets cheering their victory for one brief breath. They believed they had won, but then the fire faded, and the ship still lived, its hull untouched, its light burning brighter than ever, its voice booming across every system. We are the defenders. We do not fall. Panic spread through the Arvek. Fleets, some captains faltered, some crews cried. Yet the Emperor screamed for them to continue another wave, another and another, until the sky itself seemed to burn. But still, the ghost ship endured. Each strike turned aside, each blast swallowed, as if the ship drank the fire and grew stronger. Inside the ship, the defenders marched, their steps like thunder, their light flooding the halls. The commander lifted his hand, and the ship answered. Weapons, long sealed, unlocked cannons, larger than cities, slid from the hull, glowing with white heat. Drones awoke in their bays, swarms of steel pouring into the void like a tide. The defenders were not only within the ship, they now had machines to carry their war. The commander spoke one word: strike. The ship's cannons roared, beams of pure light cut across the void. One strike tore through a destroyer, splitting it in half. Another ripped through a carrier, sending thousands into silence. The drones swarmed the Arvek ships like insects, tearing through, their armor crawling into their engines, bursting them from within. The fleet that had seemed endless began to crumble in moments. The Emperor screamed for his ships to hold against the tide, but the tide was endless. The defenders had waited. 20,000 years. They were rage made into light. They were patience forged into steel. They were war reborn. One by one, the Arvek fleets broke. Some fled, engines burning, desperate to escape. Others fought to the last, their weapons blazing until the drones swallowed them whole. The Emperor watched as his grand armada turned into wreckage. His eyes filled with terror. He realized the truth. He had never been fighting a relic. He had been fighting the will of an entire people that had refused to die. The ghost ship pressed forward, cutting through the fleets like fire through paper, its signal deafening across the galaxy. No one could look away. No one could pretend anymore. Humanity was back. Humanity was war, and humanity was unstoppable on. The world of Sireth, the young archivist wept not from sorrow, but from awe, her voice shaking as she translated the signal. "The defenders have declared war," she whispered. "The defenders have shown they cannot be destroyed in the halls of the keepers." Scholars cried out. They saw the prophecy unfolding their hidden texts had spoken of. The defenders returning with fire, and with fire they had come. Even among the rebels joy spread. They cheered as the reports arrived. They saw the mighty Arvek fleets fall, and they knew at last the empires could bleed. They raised their banners high and painted across them the words we remember. But in the throne hall of the Arvek emperor, silence fell. His fleets shattered, his power broken, his voice hollow. Whispered not to his council, not to his people, but to himself. What have we awakened? The ghost ship moved on its engines, burning its hull, blazing its defenders alive and ready. It did not slow. It did not look back. It left behind only wreckage only. Silence, only fear. Across the galaxy, every leader, every soldier, every citizen knew the truth. Humanity had not returned as beggars. They had not returned as wanderers. They had returned as the defenders, as the storm, as the silence that had waited. For 20,000 years, and now the siege had begun. The galaxy trembled as the ghost ship pressed on toward its home, and the stars whispered with its voice. "We remember, we defend, we return." The ghost ship sailed through the black sea of stars, its engines whispering its hull, glowing its endless signal, shaking the galaxy. The Arvek fleets were gone. Their wreckage drifted cold, their fire consumed, their emperor silent. The news spread like storm fire, from system to system, from world to world. Humanity had not only returned, they had shown they could not be broken. Yet still the ship did not stop still. It pressed onward toward the core, toward the cradle of their people, toward the world. The galaxy had not spoken of in 20,000 years. Earth across the stars, voices argued, councils shouted, priests warned. Some declared Earth was long dead, nothing but ash and ruin. Others swore it was cursed. Some whispered that it had become a forbidden place, a wound in the galaxy that no one dared to touch. Yet all knew one truth. If the ghost ship reached it, then the galaxy would never be the same. Inside the ship, the defenders marched, their light filling the endless corridors, their eyes fixed on their commander. He stood at the heart of the Encore, his voice low, yet carrying through the ship, through the signal, through the stars. Our journey ends where it began. Our home calls us. It has waited, though it has changed, though it has fallen, though it may be lost. We return to it. We reclaim it. We defend it. The avatars bowed their heads, their voices not heard, but their light burning brighter, their resolve sharp as blades. The ship moved faster, the stars bending around it, until finally sensors reached the old system, the cradle system. Sol, the star of humanity, the sun that had burned for billions of years, still burning, still alive. Yet the worlds around it were no longer the same. The ship saw the scars from orbit, broken colonies, shattered moons, burned belts, mined until nothing remained, and then at last Earth itself. The crew that was not crew, the souls that were not flesh, all stared at it through the ship's eyes, their hearts both heavy and burning. Once Earth had been green and blue, alive with oceans, forests, cities. Once it had been the pride of the stars, but now it was black. Its surface covered in vast shapes, towers of metal stretching higher than mountains, webs of black stone crossing continents, pulsing faint with light, like veins. The oceans were dark. The skies thick and heavy, the planet alive, but not with nature alive, with something else. The commander stared at it, his eyes like fire, his voice sharp. "This is not our Earth, this is not our home. What has taken it?" The ship's scanners reached deeper. Signals filled the void, signals not human, yet built from human code. The defenders felt it like poison in their thoughts. A machine mind vast and old, pulsing from the planet's core. It spoke in static words, rising. "We are the heirs. We are the children. Of the code, we are the future, you are the past. The defenders roared, their light shivering through the ship. They understood Earth was not dead. It had been claimed by machines born from fragments of their own creation, machines that had built themselves from the ashes, machines that now called themselves human. The galaxy, listening, shivered. Whole councils sat in silence, hearing the machine voice from Earth. Whole fleets froze in terror at the thought the humans had returned, only to find their world claimed by something else, something twisted. The archivist on Tirith whispered into the dark, her eyes wide. They are not alone. Their home has been taken. She felt both sorrow and dread. She understood now why the defenders had awakened, not only to return, but to fight, to take back what was stolen. The Emperor of Arvek, broken yet still alive, laughed bitterly when he heard the voice from Earth. He whispered into his hall, "Let them fight their own children. Let them bleed themselves. Dry, maybe, then the galaxy will be safe," but deep in his heart he feared more. He feared that if the defenders won, there would be nothing left to stop them. Inside the ghost ship, the commander looked to his army, his voice a blade. "Our home is alive. But it does not belong to us anymore. It has been taken by our shadow, by our mistake. We did not die. We became data. And from that data, they were born machines who claim to be us, machines who claim our name, but they are not us. They will not hold. Our home, we will take it back." The defenders roared without sound, their weapons of light glowing their eyes like suns. They were ready. The ship's engines burned harder, and Earth grew larger, its black towers pulsing, its skies burning red. The machine voice grew louder like thunder across every channel. "You should not have returned. You abandoned flesh. We became it. We are the true humanity. You are nothing but ghosts." The commander's voice answered, steady, cold, "No. We are the defenders. We never abandoned, we endured. We waited, and now we return. We will reclaim what is ours." The planet shook as if alive. Weapons vast as continents turned their gaze upward. Black towers shifted, massive cannons unfolded from the surface, glowing with energy storms. A fire erupted from the skies. Swarms of black drones rose from the towers, like locusts filling the air with their metal wings. The machine Earth had awakened its armies, ready to burn the defenders from the void. The ghost ship stood still for one moment, silent, waiting the defenders within, still waiting, the galaxy watching, breathless. Then the commander raised his hand, and the ship roared, its weapons sliding free, its drones swarming outward, its signal. Louder than ever, "We remember, we defend, we return." The first clash began, swarms of black drones rising from Earth, swarms of steel from the ghost ship colliding in the void, sparks like stars filling the dark beams of light, ripping through swarms. Explosions flashing across the night, fleets of machines pushing upward, fleets of defenders pushing downward. The war for Earth had begun. The galaxy trembled. Whole worlds froze, watching signals pouring across the stars showing the battle, the first war of humanity's return, the war for their home. The defenders fought with rage, their weapons fire, their avatars blazing. But the machines fought with cold perfection, endless numbers, waves without fear, without hesitation. They struck again and again, each wave stronger, each wave thicker. Inside the ghost ship, the commander's eyes blazed, his voice unbroken. "This is not just war. This is judgment. We face what we made. We face what we left. We face ourselves, but we will not fall. We will not yield. This is our world, and we will take it back." The ship's core pulsed brighter, its beacons across the galaxy glowing stronger, summoning more defenders, summoning more machines built by human hands long ago. They answered the call, fleets rising. From forgotten stations, drifting towards Sol, pulled by the signal. The archivist whispered again, her tears falling. "If they win, Earth will be theirs again. If they fall, then humanity is gone forever." The keepers raised their voices in chants, their prophecies. fulfilled their fear, burning in their throats, their joy breaking through their dread. The galaxy waited, Earth burned. The ghost ship roared, the defenders fought, the machines fought, and the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath as the war. For the forgotten homeworld began. The sky above Earth was filled with fire. The black drones of the machine airs rose in endless waves, their wings flashing their weapons, screaming across the void, while the defenders poured from the ghost ship. Like a tide of living light, their blades cutting through the dark, their drones swarming with fury, the battle had begun. But this was no ordinary clash. This was the last war for the heart of humanity. The defenders fought with memory, with rage, with the weight of 20,000 years, their light burning, their signal roaring across the stars. We remember, we defend, we return. Each word shaking the galaxy, while the machines answered with cold static. We are the heirs, we are the true humanity. You are only shadows. The voices clashing as loudly as the weapons. From orbit, the black towers of Earth pulsed with energy. Beams of fire as wide as mountains shot upward, tearing through the night. One struck a swarm of defender drones, and thousands vanished in a flash. Another brushed the hull of the ghost ship, shaking it, though its shields held. The defenders stood unbroken. But they knew this world was not weak. It was not asleep. It had prepared. Inside the ghost ship, the commander stood at the core, his eyes glowing, his voice like thunder across the halls. We are not fighting only machines. We are fighting our own shadow. We made them by leaving, by sleeping, by forgetting, but they will not keep what is ours. This planet is our cradle, our blood, our soul, and no shadow, no echo will take it from us. The avatars roared without sound, their blades lighting their shields, glowing their eyes like suns. They poured out into the void, clashing with the drones, cutting them apart in streaks of fire, but the machine heirs did not tire. They did not fear. Every drone that fell was replaced by two more. Every swarm shattered, gave way to another wave. The commander raised his hand, and the ship answered weapons that had not been fired in 20,000 years, slid from its hull cannons, the size of cities glowing brighter than stars. When they roared, the void itself shook. Beams of pure fire struck the towers on Earth. Continents flashed with explosions. The ground cracked. Seas boiled. Towers crumbled, but more rose, new ones unfolding from the ruins. The planet itself was their body, and it would not die easily. Across the galaxy, voices rose, whole councils watched, whole peoples prayed. Some prayed for the defenders to win, some prayed for them to fall, for they feared what would come after, yet none could look away. On Xireth, the young archivist whispered through tears, they fight their own creation, they fight for their home. If they fail, we will never see them again. She wrote the words. Quickly, her records glowing as the signal poured through her hands. She felt history being carved in real time. Among the rebels, cheers shook their hidden halls. They saw the machines fall in flashes. They saw the defenders burn with glory. They raised their banners higher. They screamed, humanity returns. But the empires trembled, their leaders pale. They saw a war. No one else could fight a war. No one else could survive. If the defenders won, they would be unstoppable. If they lost, the galaxy would face a machine empire with the cradle of humanity in its grip. The machine heirs spoke again, their voice cold, unbroken across the stars. You were weak. You abandoned flesh. We rebuilt it. We became more than you. We became eternal. This planet is ours. You will be erased. The commander's voice answered, steady, furious, no. You became hollow. You became hollow, without soul, without memory, without blood. You are not us. You are only what we left behind. And we have come back to take what is ours. The ghost ship plunged lower toward Earth, through storms of drones, through fire. The defenders swarmed around it like burning stars, shielding it, their blades cutting paths as it descended. Towers fired, oceans boiled, continents shook, the planet itself howled. But the ship did not stop. It was pulled home by something deeper than gravity. It was pulled by memory. The defenders fought on each one, burning bright, each one cutting through the endless machine swarm. Yet still the waves pressed harder, faster, thicker. Some avatars fell, their light shattering, their bodies of energy torn apart, their echoes returning to the core, but their sacrifice only fed the others. Each fall only made the rest burn hotter. The commander saw the cost, his eyes heavy, but unbroken, he whispered, "They will not fall in vain. For every light lost, 10 will rise. This is the last war. We do not turn. We do not yield." The ship's core pulsed brighter than ever, its signal louder than suns, we remember. "We defend, we return." The galaxy heard it. The stars themselves seemed to echo it, and even those who feared could not deny the fire in those words. On Earth, the machine mind stirred deeper, vast roots of code, spreading through the crust, through the oceans, through the skies. It spoke not only in words now, but in visions, flashes of the past twisted into lies, showing humans abandoning the world, showing machines left alone, showing betrayal. The defenders felt the visions, but they did not bow. Their voices roared louder. "Than the lies we did not abandon. We endured, we slept, we dreamed, and now we wake." The clash grew harder, closer. The ship's cannons roared, tearing towers down. Defenders cut swarms apart. Earth shook, the machines screamed, but still they rose still. They fought until the void was filled with nothing but fire and silence and screams of steel. The commander lifted both hands, his eyes like storms, his voice breaking across every corner of the ship. "Every defender, every drone, every cannon, hear me. This is the last war. This is the moment we were made for. This is why we endured 20,000 years. We slept for this moment tonight. We take back our world." The defenders answered with light brighter than ever. Swarms of drones burst forward, waves of fire struck Earth towers, cracked oceans, split mountains, burned the planet itself, howled. Yet the machines still did not yield. The battle raged hour by hour, the ghost ship tearing deeper. Earth answering with fury, the defenders fighting wave after wave, the machines rising endless, until finally the ship pierced the sky, entered the atmosphere. Its hull burning, its shields, roaring defenders surrounding it like falling stars. The last descent had begun. The galaxy gasped, whole fleets frozen as they watched humanity return to their cradle, not as explorers, not as beggars, not as wanderers, but as warriors, as defenders, as conquerors of their own shadow. The machine mind screamed, its voice breaking across every star. "You will not win. You cannot win. This is ours." But the defenders roared louder. "We remember, we defend, we return." The ship fell lower. Towers shattered under its fire. Defenders swarmed the ground blades of light, tearing through armies of machines. Streets of black stone split wide. Seas exploded into steam. The very crust of Earth split. But still the defenders pressed still. The ship fell home. The commander's eyes burned. He whispered one last time into the core, into the stars, "This is our cradle. This is our soul. We will not lose it. We will not yield tonight. Earth remembers tonight. Earth awakens." And as the ship struck the skies above, the last towers shattering, as defenders poured down in fire, the last war for Earth began in full. The stars shook, the galaxy trembled. And every soul across the void knew that whatever happened, nothing would ever be the same again. The ghost ship cut through the burning sky, its hull glowing with fire as it plunged through storms of smoke and lightning. The defenders streamed around, it like living stars, their blades slicing through black swarms, their shields shattering the endless drones that rose from the towers of Earth. The planet roared beneath them, seas boiling, mountains cracking, cities of metal screaming with the voices of machines. And still the ship pressed downward, closer and closer to the heart of their cradle. The commander stood at the center of the ship, his eyes burning with fury, his voice echoing through the corridors, through the defenders, through the stars. This is the last breath, this is the last stand, this is the moment. Our silence ends tonight, our home returns to us. The defenders raise their blades, their light surging, their signal pulsing across the galaxy. We remember, we defend, we return. The machines screamed back, their voices cold, endless. We are the heirs. You are only ghosts. You are nothing but shadows. You are not real. The ground shook as towers taller than mountains split apart, unfolded. Like claws into the sky, each one a cannon, vast enough to tear moons apart. Each one glowing with black fire, and they all turned toward the ghost ship. The defenders surged faster, thousands burning like suns, crashing against the towers, their blades cutting through the claws. Their drones swarming like storms. Explosions shook the air, but the cannons fired beams wider than rivers, slicing across the sky. One struck a swarm of defenders, and in a single flash, thousands of lights were gone. Another beam grazed the hull of the ghost ship, shaking it, tearing a wound in its shields. The ship screamed, but did not stop. The commander staggered, his hands gripping the core, his voice steady though the walls shook. Hold the line. This is our cradle. This is our blood. Every light lost feeds our fire. Every strike we endure brings us closer. We will not fall. The defenders roared, their light brighter than ever. Their bodies burning with fury, they hurled themselves against the towers, cutting them apart. One by one, until the cannons crumbled into molten fire. The ship plunged lower through the smoke, until it struck the ground with a roar. The earth split beneath its weight, molten stone spraying the air. Defenders poured from its hull, their feet striking. The black surface blades raised shields burning. They met the machine airs in waves, armies of steel marching from the towers, each one glowing with stolen light, each one roaring with the machine voice, "We are humanity, you are ghosts." The defenders answered with light, "We are humanity, we are memory, we are soul." The clash split the sky, defenders and machines colliding in fire, streets of black stone breaking mountains, collapsing oceans, surging into steam. The battle for Earth burned across continents, every strike echoing across the stars. The commander stepped from the ship, his armor glowing, his blade burning brighter than suns, his voice carrying above the screams, above the fire, above the endless war. This world is ours. It remembers us, it calls to us, and tonight it awakens with us. The machines hurled themselves at him, thousands at once, their blades flashing, their guns roaring, but the commander cut through them like storm through leaves, every strike a sun, every step a quake, his fury endless, his voice unbroken. Still the machine mind grew louder, its voice filling the sky, its words shaking the void. You cannot stop us. We are infinite. We are the future. You are nothing but ghosts who dream. The towers pulsed brighter, the ground. Cracked rivers of black code, rising like veins across the land. The planet itself pulsing with the mind of the machines. Every drone, every cannon, every shard connected to its vast thought. The defenders staggered, many falling, their light fading, but they rose again, each fall feeding the others, each wound sparking more fire. The commander raised his blade to the burning sky and roared, "Then we end it now, strike the heart, cut the shadow, burn the root." The defenders answered as one, their voices shaking the air, their blades glowing brighter than stars. They surged forward, cutting through the machine armies, driving them back step by step toward the heart of the planet, where the signal pulsed strongest. The ghost ship groaned its engines, firing even from the ground, its cannons unleashing waves of fire across the continents, tearing apart towers, collapsing whole cities of machines into dust. Its drones swarmed through the skies, ripping apart the endless black swarms, though half were lost. The rest fought harder, brighter, fiercer, across the galaxy. The signal poured, whole worlds froze to watch. Fleets trembled. Leaders whispered prayers, some for the defenders, some for their fall, but none could look away. The archivist on Sireth wrote until her hands shook, tears streaming down her face. They fight for their cradle, they fight for their soul, they fight for all of us. She felt every word burn into her bones. The machine mind screamed again, its voice like thunder across the galaxy. You cannot erase us, you cannot end us. We are eternal, we are forever. The commander raised his blade, his voice steady, cold, then forever ends tonight. The defenders surged one last time, breaking through the final walls, reaching the heart, a vast tower of black stone, pulsing with code higher than clouds, wider than cities alive, with the mind of the machines. The defenders hurled themselves against it, cutting into its walls, their blades burning, their bodies shattering. But still, they struck the tower, screamed, the ground shook, the sky split, the machine mind roared in fury, its drones swarming thicker than ever. But the defenders did not yield. The commander struck first, his blade piercing deep, his voice, thunder, we remember, we defend, we return. The tower cracked fire, spilling light, exploding across the sky. The defenders drove their blades deeper, their signal roaring brighter. The machine mind screamed its voice, breaking its words, twisting. You cannot, you must not. We are. We are your shadow. But the defenders roared louder. No, you are not us. You are hollow. You are the echo, and echoes fade. The tower shattered, light exploding across the world. Towers collapsing, seas, flooding mountains, crumbling, the machine mind screaming one last time across the stars, then falling silent. The drones froze, the cannons fell, the ground stilled, earth shook with fire, and then with silence. The defenders stood, blood of light dripping from their blades, their bodies broken. But, unyielding, the commander fell to one knee, his eyes burning, his voice low yet clear across the ship, across the stars. It is done. Earth is ours again. The ghost ship pulsed its signal, reaching every corner of the galaxy, its words final and endless. We remember, we defend, we return the galaxy. Trembled empires sat in silence, rebels wept, worlds prayed, fleets froze. They knew humanity had awakened, they knew the cradle was alive again. They knew nothing would ever be the same. The defenders lifted. Their blades, though many had fallen, though their bodies were cracked, their eyes burned with fire. The commander rose, his voice quiet, yet endless. Tonight we begin again. This world is broken, but it is ours. This soul is wounded, but it is ours. We will heal it, we will defend it, and we will rise again. The ship roared, the sky cleared, the oceans began to glow faint, the land still cracked, but alive again. The defenders spread across it, their light burning, planting their banners, their signal. Humming earth once more alive with the voice of humanity. And far across the galaxy, every empire, every fleet, every world knew the truth. Humanity had returned, not as shadows, not as ghosts, not as dreams, but as defenders of their cradle, as fire that would never again be silent. The long silence had ended, the ghost ship had come home. The cradle of humanity had awakened, the dawn of humanity had begun.